You know, when the insurrectionists, when they came to storm our Capitol on January 6th, they came armed not only with weapons, but also with hate. Mere weeks before International Holocaust Remembrance Day, the world watched in horror as a rioter inside the Capitol proudly wore a Camp Auschwitz shirt as he and others violently pushed forward on the House and the Senate floors. All the while, the rioters, they're waving Confederate flags, they're hanging nooses on the front lawn, they're verbally assaulting a Jewish reporter outside the Capitol, saying, "You are cattle" today. That refers to cattle cars that were used to transport Jews to Nazi death camps during the Holocaust. This violent attack on the Capitol featured followers from the anti-Semitic QAnon conspiracy theory. So, Mr. Conte, on January 4th, Metro Police Department arrested Enrique Chirrillo, leader of the racist anti-Semitic Proud Boys hate group. FBI claims the next day it shared with MPD concrete intelligence about extremist plans for violence on January 6th, including specific threats on members of Congress, maps of the tunnels under the Capitol complex. If MPD was tracking extremist, potentially violent white supremacist activity, then what exactly did you know on January 5th, and why didn't you alert anyone?
Thank you for that question. What the FBI sent, ma'am, on January 5th was in the form of an email. I would certainly think that something as violent as an insurrection in the Capitol would warrant, a phone call or something. But as Chief Sund mentioned earlier, the information that was sent was uncorroborated information. It was raw information that we had. That we received through the same lines, through the JTTF. That information was not fully vetted and had not been sent through the chains of the Metropolitan Police Department. What the Metropolitan Police Department was prepared for was the larger violence and demonstrations that we expected to see in our city.
That's fine. I have to ask Mr. Sund the same question now. What did you know as of Tuesday night, January 5th? Because I have a follow-up for both of you on this one. So quickly, Mr. Sund, what did you know on January 5th? And were you alarmed or not alarmed? What did you expect?
I was concerned. We had the intelligence that was coming out, the intelligence that we'd be planning for. Again, keep in mind, the intelligence assessments that we had developed at the end of December, the beginning of, and the one for January 3rd were very, very similar. They just provided a little bit more specificity. So we had already been planning for the threat for violence, the threat for armed possible people protesting, and that's what we were planning for. Now, if you're referring to the Norfolk letter again, I just became aware that the department was aware of that 24 hours ago. So on the 6th or the 5th or the 4th, I was not aware that memo existed.
So you're saying that there's a breakdown between you and the FBI, because we have rallies, protests, and things happen in Washington all the time. How many could both of you just maybe give a guess, how many do you think are usually with armed insurrectionists or come heavily armed out of the hundreds, perhaps thousands of rallies that we see in Washington through the year?
We know the last three incidents, the first two MAGA rallies, men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department recovered firearms from several people who were attending the demonstrations at the first MAGA rally as well as the second one. Aside from that, those have been really the only demonstrations where we've seen individuals coming armed.
Well, do you think this was an intelligence breakdown or a resource issue?
I think that the intelligence did not make it where it needed to be.
You think the FBI did not raise this to the level they needed to with the Metropolitan Police Department, in your mind?
We received it in the form of an email that came as an alert bulletin at 7:00 p.m. the day before. Al Posture is the Metropolitan Police Department. Again, I think it's reflected in our deployment in terms of not just the National Guard that was deployed, but as well as other officers from surrounding jurisdictions. That reflected the seriousness that we took with respect to the threats that we were expecting to see in the city.
Mr. Sund, can you tell me, do you think this was a resource issue or intelligence breakdown or something else? If you be brief, because this is very important.
Yes, ma'am. I'll
Thank
be
you.
very brief. It was part of my introduction. I think it was more than just the Norfolk letter. I think we need to look at the whole entire intelligence community and the view they have on some of the domestic extremists and the effect that they have. I look at this as a intelligence problem that impacted this event. Yes.
So what information would you have had to have heard to have raised up the flag to get more resources for the Capitol Police? Because thank goodness, I mean, we saw loss of life, and thank goodness there wasn't more, but one is too many. So what is your threshold then? What should be the threshold to protect the Capitol and protect your officers?
I did in advance reach out to the Washington, D.C. police to coordinate resources, and I did also go to the both the House and Senate Sergeant-Arms to request the National Guard.
And Mr. Conti, I think I have 5 seconds and we can take this off the record, but I believe that there's some plans by QAnon for something to happen at the Capitol on March 4th. I want to hear what steps we're taking to protect the Capitol on March 4th from any more violent extremists. Thank you.